for the 4 o'clock meeting. It's now 4:09, and it's time to call the Ethics Board meeting of January 10th to order at 4:09. So as we get started, the standard historically has been to review the minutes from the past. But I'm not sure, but I think many of the minutes, or most of them, are recorded. Is that accurate?
You're asking me, Alan, all of your meetings have been recorded.
They have, okay. So if it's recorded, I would assume that it's automatically accepted, or do we need to vote on an acceptance for that, Corporation Counsel?
I'm going to interrupt you, Alan. Barbara's not hearing anything. And
Okay.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't either.
Oh,
I don't see anything, but
I see her and she doesn't seem that she's muted, so I don't understand. Has she been made a panelist, or does that matter?
well, that would matter, yeah.
The screen is a panelist and she should be able to hear. I don't know why.
Now, I can't see, and it says you can't start your video because the host has stopped it.
No, I'm recording.
Okay. Well, you can't see me, or you can see me.
I can see you.
Oh,
I can,
okay.
well, nobody's cameras are on. I can see squares that have people's names.
Oh, okay.
Should we start our cameras?
Yeah, I did that, but it wouldn't let me.
It says the same thing. You can't start your video because the host has stopped it.
Okay, hold on. 1 second. Let me look here.
Okay.
And thank you, everyone, for bearing with me. I am technologically challenged, and thankfully, Elisa's here, who's much more advanced than me.
Oh, as I'm calling IT.
Well, at least you can call IT. So,
And and with Barbara, what I can do is, if she can't figure out how to, I don't know why. Oh, she can hear now. Okay.
okay. All right. So, one of the things that came up is that someone was thinking that the August meeting wasn't recorded, and I just wanted, if you could at least check with Maribel to see if it wasn't recorded, if it could be posted, or if it was recorded, if it could be posted. So we'll step away from the minutes then, and the next up on the agenda was to review the status of disclosures. So, and this is a preemptive approach, because disclosures have been an issue ongoing each year. Some years worse than others. But I believe how it happens is Elisa, in the clerk's office, sends out a notice to everyone that's required to do the disclosures, to do them, and they have until February 15th to get them in. So for the ethics board to meet and review disclosures, I would suggest that it be after the February 15th. Because by that time, everything should be in. Historically, it has not been in, but most have. So we need to meet after that to review what is in and to notify the non-compliant individuals. And our practice has been to notify the clerk's office, and they would send out another notice. So if we met in early March, I see you now. All right.
But I don't see you, but it's fine. I'm here.
I see you too.
Oh, I see you. So
Hey.
excited.
Well, hello, everybody.
How many women are excited to see you? There you go.
Hollywood Stairs.
Well, it's a
And
wonderful
you
thing. So that, we meet in the early part of March and review, because then the February 15th one, the ones that are in the mail and all of that stuff will be in. And we don't want to hash out stuff that's already happening. So we can identify those that are in, identify those that are in but not filled out correctly, or have something missing, and send them back to the people, and then notify the clerk, who could send out notices of the need to get them in and to comply. And then my thoughts, and these are only mine, and it's very much open to discussion, that we give them 30 days from that point. And let them know that, failing to comply can result in a civil penalty that could start April 1st. And take it from there. And I can speak to that later on the annual letter report to the mayor. And tonight, we have, in terms of reviewing ethical complaints that are made and come before the Board of Ethics. The last 2 years have been really pretty busy. Last year was mostly busy with finishing up the abundance of complaints that came in during 2020. And we were able to get through them in this virtual state, and in in-person state, and then in a hybrid state. So, a blended mix of all of the approaches. And we were able to resolve all of the complaints that had been filed. However, we did receive a new one on December 27th. And I don't know if we have a number assigned to that yet. Is Mr. Decker here?
Here.
Yeah. So my thoughts are it's 12/27/2021. I'm not sure if it's an 01 or an 09.
-9, TAC 9.
Dash 9. Okay. So it's 12/27/2021-9. All right. And we can hear some of that tonight when we get to that. Some of the new business is the annual report to the mayor. And I just want to touch on some stuff with that. I won't read the whole thing and bore you to death, but the ethics board now has 4 seated individuals, and there's an open seat. I believe it's still Robert DeBello's, who resigned and moved out of Kingston, was no longer eligible. And then Jackie and Dana were no longer able to continue. So for a short period, that left myself and Mr. Decker. And then in July, I believe it was July, Charlotte Adamas and Barbara Sarah were appointed to the board. There still remains that one open seat. We met a number of times. We met with the mayor on January 6th. We met on March 24th, July 28th, and December 16th in a series of mixed modalities of meeting. Our annual report was submitted on January 15th to the mayor. We reviewed the ethical complaints. We expressed to the Common Council our desire to have the ethics board be educational or more educational in nature, and hope we can work proactively to prevent future ethical violations. And a lot of it seems to be from a lack of awareness and how it applies. In the meeting with the laws and rules, I suggested that, as the board had suggested, that it be a training at hire and an annual update so that people are aware of what they're operating under, what the ethical expectations are. So in general, we made some recommendations to the mayor this year. And this is the letter that's going to go in. And we don't want to be punitive in nature. But sometimes it probably does appear that way, particularly with pressuring people for the disclosure forms. And some of the people that we talked with, each of us, and some of ourselves have thought that the disclosure forms were invasive in some ways that were beyond what's necessary. And so I've asked the Laws and Rules Commission, and in a letter to the aldermen at large, that they review the code and consider some revisions of the code to express what they want it to mean rather than what they think it means, because it's often different than what a reasonable person might take it to mean. And to do the same thing with the financial disclosures and the practice of including civil penalties. And this is not telling them they must do that. That's entirely up to the Common Council. It's letting them be aware of some of our findings and some of our concerns and recommendation. And the third recommendation was that there be ethical training for all employees and officials at hire, as well as in the annual review or update. So that's the basic annual report to the mayor. Is everything's included in there that we spoke of? How about you, Mike? Mr. Decker, are you?
Yes, I concur.
Okay. Charlotte
Yeah, it's good summation.
and Barbara?
Yes, sir. Sounds okay to me.
All right. All right. And I think it's there. So,
Great.
so we've worked on that letter for a while, and we'll work to get it to the mayor in the next week, by email and hopefully by regular mail. I've also spoken with the alderman at large, Andrea Schott, and about the presentation in June or whenever it was to the Laws and Rules Committee of the Common Council. And it was a pretty busy time with the changing of officials. And so she's going to check with the new chair of laws and rules and let me know or let us know what their decision is on it. If there's been any movement on that, if they wish to, they do want to review it. Maybe they want some input from us or not, or if they choose to not review it, just so that we've let our concerns be known to them, and they will. They have to make that decision. It's not our decision to make. So, is there any old business that I'm missing? For our members of the Ethics Board? Any old business, any new business?
Lisa, have there been any disclosures turned in since our last meeting? This would be for 2021.
Actually, I don't know that information, Maribel. Would have to take on, she's not available today. I thought you meant this year.
Yeah. Well, but there were 10, I believe, at the end of the year who still had not turned theirs in. And, you know, we did send out or suggested sending out a notice of a civil penalty, although we've never done that before. It is written into the code, but, you know, and in the discussion with the mayor, we'll figure out where he wants to go with that.
Where do we want to go? Where do we want to go with it?
I don't know that we want either one. I think that we want the guidance to match the actions. So I have no investment in collecting $100 from anybody, and I don't want to harm anybody financially. But if the rules state that, you know, there can be a civil penalty, and we repeatedly try to get somebody to do something, you know, a civil penalty probably should be attached at some point. And, you know, we've issued warnings over the years, and it still continues. And at the end of the year, there's 5, 10, 15 people who don't do it. Now, some of those people may not be on board. Maybe they were on a board and they left. So we want to make sure that we clear them out of that list. Or employees who aren't there anymore, or in a different role. But for those that continue to do it, if it says that they can be assigned a civil penalty and nothing else works in getting them to comply, and if the city still wants that financial disclosure or needs that financial disclosure, then the strong language about attaching civil penalties, I think, and this is just my thoughts, should apply. Or if not, maybe it could be removed.
I tend to lean more towards them performing their function in the capacity that their department head should bar that further participation until they comply.
What do you mean further participation? Like not work?
So yeah, if I don't fill mine out and we're into May, then you as the chair should tell me that I can not participate in my capacity on the board until
Yes,
I comply.
I think we would do that as of April 1st. You know, going through those dates that I mentioned before. That hasn't been an issue with the ethics board.
No, I'm just, for example, you know, and that should be
right
across the board, you know,
Yeah.
for all that are identified to
And
fill
we
out
see,
these disclosures.
right, and we see the disclosures and get constant reminders, and other people may not, but you're right, it's the chair of the board or the department head should be accountable.
But aren't some of those paid positions, in which case, how do we have the authority to, I think Alan's frozen. We lost our chair.
Yeah.
But am I wrong? I mean, some of those positions are paid, right? So what, I don't know how we would have any authority to, I mean, I think it makes sense for volunteers like us.
Yeah.
If you want to serve on a board as a volunteer, that's your minimum commitment, fill out the disclosure form. And I think that's easy enough remedy, right? Like by April 1, then you need to just, your appointment is on hold. But if you're a paid employee of the city,
They still have a department head, and they could suspend them without pay. It could be that much more serious. I mean, there's a rule and a requirement, so I see it very clear cut that they comply. We spend 10 months out of the year chasing them for what?
Well, that's my point, is for what? So, and that's where I think the civil penalties come in, because, if the majority of our meetings are going to be focused on disclosures, and I'd rather they focus on disclosures than that there be a lot of ethical complaints or allegations of ethical violation. So,
And the so what of that is should one of those be subject of a complaint, we're not able to perform our function.
I agree.
yeah. And maybe, Mike's idea, Al, I think actually bears merit in that I could still pay the $100 and still not do my, fill out my form. So where does that leave us, right? If the whole point is filling out the form because you need to be transparent in terms of your financial holdings and possible areas of, ethical conflict, then to me, it seems like your position you are not in a position to hold your position. Whereas the penalty doesn't get us any closer to getting that disclosure form filled.
right. In talks with the mayor, and this was a couple of years ago, and he understood the civil penalty, but more importantly, that if they're board members or commission members, that they can't serve at a certain point. And, we have to determine where's that magic line in the sand. Is it April 1st?
Is that all
Unless
it's
and
about?
until they submit the form. But they would still have that civil penalty attached to it. Which I don't even know where that would go. It wouldn't come to us, and we don't want it to come to us. But and the goal is not to financially impact anybody, it's getting them to comply. So we're asking the Common Council to reconsider, or to consider, review and consider the code of ethics and the financial disclosures, so that they can determine if there need to be more conflict of interest. And some of the complaints that we've gotten have been that, why do you need to know my significant other or my spouse's retirement funds? If they have, if they're not going to impact what I do for the city. At the same time, we don't want to chase away good people that wish to and are willing to serve on boards and commission, or to create a hardship for an employee. So the Common Council has been advised by us of some of the obstacles that we see, and they'll have to make that determination. And they make that determination, I believe, whether or not the forms get revised or completely revamped into a conflict of interest. If there's going to be a civil penalty, and if there is going to be a civil penalty, how does it get enacted? So if I have an unruly person like Charlotte who won't do it, how do I get the $100 from her or $10?
But
You know,
I'm not paying you anything, Alan.
I
But-
know, I know.
But I think, this gets back to the issue of that the form really needs to be revised. I mean, it's
Yes.
a terrible form. I had to call my accountant. I have a master's degree. I read it and went, oh my God, I don't even understand this.
Right.
So what is the purpose of sending out a form with language that, even like highly educated people don't understand? And I'm not embarrassed to admit that. I was flummoxed. And
Mhm.
so again, what are we asking people to do? And furthermore, if they don't understand the questions, are we getting accurate answers? So, and plus the intention of it isn't clear, and we've talked about this for quite some time now. Our position is not a gotcha. We want people to be aware of, why is this form needed? How does it protect you? Should an allegation come up? Why does it matter? And it's just so still dry. I mean, it just is like, fill this out and get this in, as opposed to, hey, this is to your benefit. This is why this is important for all people. So if we maintain this attitude of transparency, then that protects us in the long run. So again, I think we get back to the need for this board to be considered a more proactive board, a more educational board, and not just chasing people for disclosures that clearly don't mean a lot to people right now. It's just something to check off your to-do list.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, as you shared your reluctance and concerns about the form itself and the questions on it and how invasive some of them are, and how do I answer this? Other people have expressed that also, and that was a major part of the request to the Common Council, that they review it, at least. Please review this and consider revision. We can't tell them to revise anything. We can't even tell them to review it. We're suggesting they review it, because I have to believe that they're good people wanting to do good things for the city. So if you review this and it is exactly, and we can be available for feedback with them if they want. If it is exactly written exactly the way you want it, and you understand what it means, the code and the disclosures, then that's fine. But I want it to be clear that they have that is or is not what they want. And if it is not, then to consider revising it to reflect what it is they want and the city wants. And because you are highly educated, and a lot of the people are, and some aren't. But if the people with a high level of education and form life struggle with it, so might others. So hopefully we'll hear back from them, or I'll hear back from the alderman at large, hopefully within the next month, on what's happening with that. If they've addressed it, if they're considering to address it, or if they've forgotten about it.
You
So-
know, the community has the right to know that we are looking out for their best interests. That's our job.
Yeah. Yeah, we serve the city and the people in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, and that's why that's part of the reason for those requests. I mean, we didn't run for office, nor will I, but, and those people got elected to do that very thing. So we're their advisors in this case, suggesting that they review it and revise and consider revision,
Right.
or not. So we'll see where that goes. Elise, if you could, or if Maribel could, the people who didn't comply throughout 2021, I believe there were 10 or 15 names. For some reason, I think it got down to 10, but I could be wrong.
10.
And if those people are employees or officials, and if they're still employees or officials, because if they are, they probably should not serve. If they're officials, they probably shouldn't serve. And if they're employees, then they would have to follow whatever the practice is of their union or their management agreement or whatever it is. And that's out of our, I don't know what they all are. But,
What, I'm sorry, Alan, what exactly are you asking me?
of the 10 people that did not comply last year, are any of them people who used to be on boards or commissions and are no longer on or have not been on? Are they employees or are they present day officials?
We'll have to review the list and I'll have to get back to you on that.
Oh, yeah. I'm not expecting anything now. Oh, but thank you, because and Maribel may have already done that. I don't know. But, that'll just give us an idea. Historically, the last few years, it has not been employees. We've had more officials, board members, commission members than employees. So, that's an easier fix in saying that, look, if after April 1st, if it isn't in, you can't participate. And you can't return to participation until you're in compliance. And let them have a discussion with the mayor about it and see where it goes. So any other business that you guys need to bring up? Oh, we have a new corporation council legal representative here. New, but not so new. Barbara, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to say hello to her. I've had some discussions.
Welcome.
Yeah, no, it's great to have somebody there that, that you can consult with and get guidance. So there is a, if there is nothing else, and if there is, please speak up. We do have a complaint that number 1227 2021-9 that would need to be discussed about specific complaints about a specific employee or official of the city. And we would not be able to discuss that in the public forum. So is there a motion to
Should,
go?
being that we have guests, Alan, should we entertain first public speaking? If anyone wishes to do so.
I don't know if they can in the webinar setting. I don't.
They can contact me in the chat if they want me to unmute them.
Okay. So if there's participants who are unable to speak and you have something you want to ask, suggest.
Alan, do we need to have was this announced for a public hearing or public comment?
No, there was just an ethics meeting.
Okay. Well, if it was not announced for public hearing and public comment, I don't want to interrupt the flow, but I don't know that that was on your agenda.
It was not. It was not. So we can, if they want, we can, if there's a motion and it's approved to go into an executive session, we can do that. And for our next meeting. This is an informative meeting, and then we have also gotten a complaint, so that's what we're going to look at. So if there's when we have our next meeting, and if there's a desire to have it, well, public comment, we could consider that.
It's in the rules and regulations. That's what I was following.
What's that?
It's in the rules and regulations. That's what I was following. Described meeting format.
Okay. Can you guide me on this, Barbara?
If you want to discuss it, we should have an attorney-client discussion, not have the discussion in the public forum if you're asking for guidance. And I'm happy to jump on the conference line that Elisa circulated a minute ago.
Okay. All right, so then that would be in the executive session. Okay. So,
Are we going on the attorney-client discussion to discuss whether or not we need to have public hearing first?
Yes.
I want to make sure we address that issue that Mike Decker raised.
yes, we can do that. We have to do it on the same
We can use
number.
the same line just for the consultation. It's not really executive session, right? Correct.
Everyone, please turn off your cameras and your microphones.
Hello. We back on?
Mike is back.
Okay.
Barbara, open your mic. We can't hear you.
Thanks for saying that. I can now tell you, when you hear me, that I am representing all the people of my generation, most of them who can't do what I'm being asked to do. That's who I'm here to represent. So thank you for your patience, and I apologize. I mean well, and I'm very ethical.
No doubt. No doubt.
I hope you all had a drink in my absence.
Several.
As corporation counsel, I can assure you, no one drank.
No one.
No
Water.
one.
Water.
So are all of our members back? Charlotte, I see you. Mike, Barbara, and Barbara. And is Elisa here?
Somebody's got an open phone.
I am still here.
Okay. So if there are people who are interested in public speaking and any of the items that we've addressed or anything that's not related to specific complaints, those will be handled in an executive session. And or if they want to be heard in an executive session, if they could let us know, that would be great. Did you get any request, Elisa?
So far, there is nothing in the chat.
Okay. All right, then I guess the next thing to do is to go into executive session and talk about the specific complaint, 12/27/2021-9. Is there a motion at all?
I'll make a motion that we enter executive session to discuss complaint 12/27/2021-9.
Okay.
Second. Barbara,
Oh, I'm definitely in favor.
definitely in favor, and so am I. So that motion is carried, and we will now go into executive session.
Are we doing it with the same number? I want to be clear for Barbara. Are we using the same phone number?
So far, no one no members of the public needed to
Speak.
enter into executive session. That's correct?
Right.
Okay. In that case, we can continue with the same number that some folks may have open already.
Okay.
And Mr. Shabbat, could you sign in about 5 minutes?
You want me to come in 5 minutes?
Yes, if you can.
Okay.
Does Barbara?
According to my watch or your watch?
Any watch, 5 minutes from.
And
Will do.
Barbara Sarah,
Yeah,
do you understand you don't need to turn Zoom off? just close your mic and your camera and dial your phone, just like you did at the end. Is that clear?
I still have the phone on, so
Okay, so good. We'll go right there.
So
Make
we're
sure
hearing
you,
that.
make sure you mute and turn off your camera.
I got you.
I'll see you all in executive session.
Thank you.
Well, hello, everybody. We're back.
Barbara, hang up.
So we're back. Elisa, you here?
Yes, I am.
I know we've been gone a while. So as we came out of executive session at 6:15, I believe it is, and while in the executive session, to review that complaint number 12/27/2021-9, we had the opportunity to speak with the subject of the complaint and two members of the public. And were there other people who were interested in speaking, Elise?
Nope, that's all.
That's all. Okay. Well, I thank the members of the public for coming, and I know it can be a long meeting, and I thank you for coming, Elisa. I think it's wonderful that you're here, and I do welcome our new corporation counsel. I believe we've covered everything. Does anybody have any comments, questions, suggestions, directives that you might? Let me poll you. Barbara, do you have anything? Barbara, Sarah?
No, just some instruction in how to go from one place to another. Otherwise, I'm following very well. Thank you.
Yeah, I struggle with you. Don't worry. I get through it somehow. But Charlotte, you're good. Michael,
Thank you, sir.
good. And Barbara Graves Poller. Anything? No.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, thank you, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are surrounded with three Barbaras here.
Ba ba ba. Don't make me sing. So, and if we are ready to close, is there a motion to do that?
I
We're
move,
supposed to pick a meeting date, right?
We will need to pick one. I don't know if we need to pick one. Do you want to come back in a couple of weeks? Or
Wasn't the thought to come back after the, hopefully the bulk of the disclosure forms have been submitted? So in early March is what you had mentioned.
right, that's for the disclosure forms, but to review the complaints, do you want to?
I think
So-
we should set a meeting now because our lives get busy and it would be good to know.
Yeah.
Charlotte, I have a question
Mhm.
about your continuing to stay in on this case because of your having taken a stand. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay if corporation counsel is okay with it. I feel that I can, it's not specific to what I was voicing an opinion on. So if I had voiced an opinion specific to the complaint, then I would absolutely not feel comfortable. But I don't, at this point, I believe I understand that it is not a conflict.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we will, well, why don't you digest the information that you just got tonight and the complaint forms? And then in a couple of weeks, we can look at trying to set up a time and date to meet. Once you have an understanding of it, and then we can meet and have that discussion. And it, I'm feeling that it may need to be before the disclosure meetings. And then we're going to have to discuss how to do the disclosure meetings if it's going to be virtual
Right.
without the disclosures. You know, because our pattern is we don't take disclosures out of the building.
Right.
So
We'll
I don't
worry
know.
about that then. We're looking at
Well,
mid-March now.
We'll figure that out. So we'll focus on digesting the material that we all have. And then we can send out a poll and find a meeting time that works.
Speaking of that, Mike, I am going to be out of town for the month of February, but I will do my best to, from where I am, to
Mhm.
phone in or to, I'll have my computer.
Well, I hope I am out of town too, but we'll see.
We're looking at 2 weeks. If we're looking at 2 weeks, what about the week of the 24th? That's what I'm saying. We're gonna get really busy. Why don't we just look at either, how about Tuesday, the 25th or Wednesday, the 26th? And then
I leave on the 31st.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
I'm
sure.
swamped. I'm swamped that week. So we'll
Alright.
send out a poll for some days and times that we can do that.
Okay.
Is there a motion to close this and send Barbara to another meeting? And
Motion to close the meeting.
I
second,
Seconded.
Mr. Decker?
Favor.
Mr. Decker's good and I'm good. So at 6:22 PM, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank
You
you.
all have a lovely evening.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
I
Bye.
learn a lot every time. Thank you.